Linux Mint 19.3 just released recently. We're going to take a look at that today. Hey everyone, what's happening? Before we get started, I'm going to invite the new people to click that subscribe button if they like my content. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and leave a comment in the section below because I love to read comments. Now today we're going over Linux Mint 19.3 Tricia. And I have the Mate version installed. As you know, or if you know anything about Linux Mint, they have 3 versions of it. There's the Cinnamon desktop, there's the Mate desktop, and then there's the XFCE desktop. If you'd like, the most common is probably the Cinnamon desktop, and a lot of people have reviewed that already for the beta. And if you would like me to go over the Cinnamon desktop, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But today I've installed the Mate desktop, and we're going to have a look at that. Now, the first thing you see after you install Linux Mint is this Welcome to Linux Mint screen. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this because we have down here here is first steps. This is stuff you should do right at install, right after to set your machine up. First of all, you have the system's snapshots. You're going to hit launch this and enter in your password, and then you're going to go ahead and follow this wizard right here. I'm not going to set this up right now because that's going to take a little while and it's going to want to create a snapshot right at the beginning, but you need to do that. This way, in case like you break something or an update breaks something, which is highly unlikely in Linux Mint, but this gives you the ability to roll it back. If something breaks and you do something to it, you can roll all your configs back to a working snapshot. Now, of course, the next is the driver manager. You do want to take a look at this, especially if you know one of your piece of hardware uses a proprietary driver. I know mine does, so it should work. It should be working because I have Wi-Fi code that does use a proprietary firmware driver, and it is currently working, so it should be installed and working right now. But this is something that you want to check because if, as you can see, it's installed and working. But if it says like do not use this device, in order for your hardware to work, you gotta go and click that and install a proprietary driver for it. Now, normally with Linux Mint, it comes by default installed, but sometimes it might say do not use this device. Go ahead and use the proprietary driver that you're supposed to be using. That would be my recommendation because most hardware that has a proprietary driver will not work with open source drivers. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close because that's working. Now, multimedia codecs, I'm not going to click this because it's going to take a while, but there's some codecs that are included by install and some they can't include by default, but they can provide a link for you to install them. I like Linux Mint because all you have to do is click this launch button and it'll install them for you so you can play all your video files and your audio files. Then, of course, you have the Update Manager, and this is something you need to go and configure. In here, you just follow the instructions here, and I need to update the Linux kernel. I will wait for that, because that's going to take a while. But then you can also switch to a local mirror, which might be helpful with speeds of downloads, etc. But that's something you probably need to go through, especially if you do automatic updates. Then, of course, system settings, just a basic control panel, and then you can go through and set this up. Now, then of course you have your software manager. This also can be found in your menu as well. I'll go over that in a minute. But you hit launch right here. And of course, it's just your standard installer right here. And if you want to install something, you just click on it. And of course, you can just click install. It's just as simple as that. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's all you have to do. And also ask for your password each time. Then this is also a very, very important thing. It's your firewall. Now, it comes with one installed, just like Ubuntu, because this is based off of Ubuntu 1910. If I can type my password right. But the thing is, it's off by default. You just need to go ahead and switch this on. And now it's on. And you're protected. It's as simple as that. I don't know why it comes off by default, but you can change your rules in here and all that stuff. And that is everything that you need to do. First steps. Of course, it's got links to the documentation here, links to the web forums and IRC chat room if you need help, and ways to contribute to the project. Now, you can also disable this by unchecking that. I am going to, because I don't need to see this every time. And then I hit close. Now, of course, this is what the desktop looks. Of course, I've got my home folder, my computer. You can remove these icons if you wish. I'm just going to leave them for now. Now, of course, we've got down here, we've got a system tray with our clock and our date, a network, and our system tray type thing right down here. And then we've got our quick launchers down here, which is, of course, our browser, which is Firefox, our terminal emulator, our file browser, and of course, our show desktop. I actually don't like that right here. So we're going to go ahead and move this over here. I like it over on the other side. I don't like the fact that these are all locked to the panel. Now I can just move it. You know what? Come on, really? You're gonna it just makes it so much harder to move everything. Like, I don't like anything locked to the panel, so let's just unlock everything. Because I'm probably gonna end up moving things around, but that's just a little thing with me, but I like that on the other side like that. But these are all movable. The panel is highly configurable in Mate. And then of course, so now let's go ahead, let's take a look at memory and kernel. So we're gonna go ahead and do a free RAM. And we're using 645 megabytes of RAM, which is actually pretty good. Actually, seems how I'm recording in the background. That's actually not too bad. I like Mate and its lightness on the system. And then of course we should be using kernel 5, but let's go ahead. Let's do a uname. Yeah, 5.0, which makes sense because this is based off of Ubuntu 18.04 LT, which is the current LTS of Ubuntu. It's a nice kernel. It has like FreeSync and all that stuff incorporated into it. That's why Ubuntu chose 5.0. So now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the menu. Now this menu I'm not too fond of, but we can change this out. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Of course, you've got your shortcuts to your power options, your logout, and your lock screen. Of course, then you have your terminal, control center, package manager, and software manager. Now, your package manager is actually Synaptic. Now, I've gone over Synaptic in my GNOME video up in the right-hand corner. if you want to check that out. But it's just your standard Synaptic. That's all it is. And then, of course, your places right here. I think that this is too representative of Windows 10. I didn't like the big menu of Windows 10 either. I just don't like the big menus. But we're going to go ahead and go through this anyway. Of course, you got your favorites, your web browser, mail client, which is Thunderbird. I'm not going to open up everything. Your image viewer and your music player, which is Rhythmbox. Calculator, which is Mate Calculator. Text editor, what do we use for text editor here? Okay, this is Z or XED. Okay. Simple little text editor there. Of course, terminal sound settings and a system monitoring displays. Measure. Now, all applications, of course, you have an archive manager, a calculator, of course, dictionary. Now, this should be, I believe, GNOME Disk. This is GNOME Disks. Simple little disk management utility. Then we have Gnote. That's actually GNOME Notes. That's pretty good. Mate Font Viewer for viewing and installing fonts. Redshift color temperature adjustment tool. That's USB image writer and USB stick formatter. That's actually pretty neat accessories to have. Graphics, we have drawing, which is basically your simple paint application. Pretty easy, pretty simple. That's what that is. Then of course you have your image viewer and a scanner for documents for if you have a document scanner. Of course, internet, you have Firefox web browser, Hex Chat, which is an IRC client for IRC chats. That's pretty nifty. And of course, transmission is a BitTorrent client for downloading BitTorrents. It's a standard GDK based BitTorrent. Now, of course, you have LibreOffice here. It's actually the full Office suite. So you don't have to do any modifications like you do with Ubuntu. Sound and video. Cellular is your video player, which is actually a pretty nice GTK video player. And then, of course, here's your install media codecs. Of course, MPV video player. I actually added that. That does not come by default. I always like to have a couple media players. And then, Then Simple Screen Recorder is also my captioning software. So that's also added. Those are the only two things I've added. Rhythmbox is, of course, our music player, and of course, your sound settings. And then, of course, System Tools, Time Shift. That's your system snapshots. Terminal, system power settings. And of course your file browser, which is actually what is this? Kaja. That's actually putting in a nice file browser. I prefer Nautilus for GTK, but Kaja is not too bad either. And then we have administration, which of course you have the backup tools to make a backup copy of your home folder, which is actually something I suggest you keep doing. Driver manager, we've been through that login window. This is basically everything that you see in your control panel is here. And of course, you got Synaptic and software sources. Now, software sources is actually you also need this. If you're adding PPAs, this helps you manage your PPAs and your authentication keys, etc. And then you have your preferences right here, which is everything, how to configure the desktop. It's actually pretty nice. Appearance is one of the things that a lot of people like to configure. It's basically your theming. Actually, let's do this one. I like this name. And that's you basically. Now, if you want to swap this menu out for something smaller, let's see if they have this installed. You go add to panel right here. Yes, they do. Add that to the, of course. Then we have this right here. Now, you can go ahead and remove this from panel. Move. Oh, whoops. This is still locked. Now it should move. There we go. And I don't know why they lock everything. It's not like you can go and just click and drag. You have to go ahead and click and... Can you click and drag? Yeah, you can click and drag, but I'm like... I don't care. I don't care, but we'll move everything around. But that's how you get a nice lighter menu. I actually prefer these menus better. But that's just a personal choice, so we're going to go ahead and leave it like that. We'll remove that, and we'll remove this. I don't need those. And then, also, Linux Mint also has Flatpaks installed by default for your self-contained sandbox packages instead of snaps. And it does come with FlatHub enabled, so you can just start installing Flatpaks out of the box without adding a remote or anything like that, which is actually a pretty nice thing. Now, the Mate desktop is very light and very responsive. I haven't had a problem with it. And this is one of the distributions I would suggest beginners use. As a matter of fact, if they're coming from Windows, I might suggest the Cinnamon desktop a little bit more than the Mate. But Mate is actually a nice Windows transition as well. So it's really a matter of either or. And XFCE is actually pretty good too for Windows users coming over as well. Now, if you'd like me to take a look at the other flavors, like I said, go ahead and leave a comment in the section below. But Linux Mint 19.3 seems like a nice release. It is now in the stable. It's no longer in beta testing. Now, if you're wondering how you can get Linux Mint, you can go to linuxmint.com and go down to and click downloads right here. Now, you want the Linux Mint 19.3 to get this particular release. Now, LMDE3, that's Linux Mint Debian Edition, and that's another video. I may cover that later in the future. Let me know if you'd like to hear about Linux Mint Debian Edition. But then you go down here, and of course you've got your Cinnamon, your Mate, and your XFCE. To get this version, you'd have to go to the Mate. But Cinnamon's also pretty nice. All of these are actually pretty nice. And make sure you are choosing the right architecture for your either 32-bit or 64-bit. If you have a 64-bit processor, which is anything released pretty much in the last 10, 12 years, not 15, but within the last 10 years, would be most likely 64-bit. So that's a good rule of thumb. It'll tell you if you go and try and boot from the USB, if it's a 32-bit, if you download the 64-bit, it won't boot at all, and then all you have to do is just come back here and download the 32-bit. But make sure you're downloading the correct architecture. Now, if you already have 19.2, right here on the home page, it says how to upgrade from Linux Mint 19.3. It's a blog post, and just follow the instructions here. That's all you have to do to upgrade to 19.3 right here. So, in short, Linux Mint 19.3 Mate looks like a nice release. It's stable, and I recommend it. And that's all I really have to say about it. Linux Mint normally has a pretty good reputation. If you like my content and wish to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, if you wish to see more, check out the videos on your screen.